We're going to take a look at the secure shell. This allows us to make connections to remote computers, and typically we're going to use it to access a command line interface. What could we do with that connection? Well, we could update the computer settings, we could edit files. It's usually used by administrators to make configuration changes or update server settings. It's a very popular protocol. It's been around for a long time, and it's going to be around for much longer, many, many decades. And so it does replace an older version called Telnet. Telnet had one big problem though, is in that the data was not encrypted. So the secure part of Secure Shell means that all the data you type is encrypted. So when I'm typing in my connection, people could try to intercept that network traffic, but it would all be encrypted. So if I connected to something and typed my password, hackers aren't going to be able to get my password from that network traffic. So we have in our lab, let's try it out. We've got our Windows server and we've got our Linux server. Essentially, we're going to log into our Windows server, and from there, we will establish an SSH connection to our Ubuntu server. Why would we do that when we can just check that box and go to connect and connect to our Ubuntu server directly? Well, sometimes that's just not possible. And so we're going to learn a different way to do it, even though we're essentially going to accomplish the same thing, just do it in a harder way, just for funsies, right? All right, we need to, step one, connect to this Windows server. So I'd rebooted my lab. So this has a new public IP address. So I've got to check the box by my Windows server, connect, choose the RDP client, and I've got to download that new remote desktop protocol file. I'm just going to write it straight over the old one. Replace it, sure thing, because the old one is now busted. And I will open that up in just a minute, but I'm going to re-get my password real quick. I'm not going to show that part. Hopefully you're comfortable getting that password. All right, it just took me 20 seconds to decrypt that password. I've got it on my clipboard now. So I am going to open up my computer, go to my downloads, and I've got my RDP file there. Do I want to connect? I sure do. And I'll Control-V paste my password in there. I actually really do want to connect. I'm going to get out of maximize mode, which is honestly a little bit annoying because, well, I don't like using all these scroll bars, but we're going to deal with it. It's fine. It's fine. All right, next thing we need to do is copy our labs user.pem file to this virtual machine. And so once again, like, let's say you don't know where that is, I can come back to the learning management system, click those AWS details, and I can download that PEM file again. And I'm going to do something intentional right now, because maybe you think, I'm not sure if I have the right version, the latest version. I already downloaded it, but I'm going to download it again. Notice that Windows will put in this parentheses 1. It already found a file named labs-user.pem, and it doesn't want to overwrite it by default, so it tries to make the file name unique, so it changed it for us without really telling us, but that's what it did. So I'm going to click Save, and so I might come back here to my downloads. Oh, there's that file I just downloaded. I'm going to right click and copy this file. And I'm going to open up my remote desktop connection, and I'll right click and paste. And magically, I've copied that file from my local computer to my Windows server running on Amazon's infrastructure. Use the copy and paste. Don't try to click and drag that file. It doesn't work. I promise you, it just doesn't. It seems like it should, but it doesn't. You have to right click copy the file locally and then right click paste it. But notice this file name here. It's labsuser1.pem. If that's what you did, you would want to rename this file. So I'm going to right click on it and rename it and get rid of that parentheses 1 space so that the file is actually named labsuser.pem. Or you could just copy and paste the one with the right name. That file must have this very specific name. Otherwise, the command I'll show you in just a bit is not going to work. But we're ready to go there. That's fine. Next thing we need to do is we need to check our Ubuntu server IP address. Because we let Amazon just kind of create the IP address for us when we created this instance, we have to go figure out what Amazon used. So back in the Amazon Web Services Web Management Console, I'm going to go to Instances, and I'm just going to uncheck my Windows server and check the box next to my Ubuntu server. And there's a subcategory down here called Networking. That's what I want. We don't care about the public IP address now. What we care about is this private IP address. So 172.31.64.96. Am I going to be able to memorize that? No, absolutely not. I'll probably have to come back here and recheck that again, but that's fine. I need to remember that. At least for a few seconds when I'm ready to type it. I know we got a lot of windows right now, a lot of moving parts on the screen. I'm going to go next to my remote desktop connection, and I'm going to scroll down here so I can see my applications, and I'm going to launch PowerShell. So when you type PowerShell, it's going to search. You want the one at the top that just says Windows PowerShell. You don't want the one that says ISE. That stands for Integrated Script Editor. We don't want that. And we also don't want the x86 version. We just want regular old Windows PowerShell. So I'm going to launch that. And I'm actually going to resize this window so I can see that private IP address there. That's going to be good for me. All right, so far things are looking good. Now we have to change our working directory in PowerShell. We need to go to C users administrator desktop because that's where we copied that labs user.pem file. So I need this folder to match C users administrator desktop. So I can do that using the cd command. And I can type it all out, c:/users/admin. So what magic will happen there? I press tab. If you type ADM and hit tab, it'll fill that in for you. I use that frequently because I make all sorts of typos and tab completion helps me out. Same thing with desktop. That's good. That last slash is optional. Include it or not, doesn't matter. They both work. So I'm going to run the command ipconfig just to see what is my IP address. Here on my Windows computer, my IP address is 172.31.65.55. The Linux IPv4 address is 172.31.64.96. Now, both of these might be different on your machine, and that's totally fine. That's expected. We only care about these private IP addresses. These are like for internal company use. They're not publicly routable. So here's where you're going to have to modify this command just a little bit. So the command is SSH. So that's the secure shell program. And we're going to -I to load the key file called labs user.pem. This is why the name is important. If for some reason your file was named labs space parentheses 1 parentheses, this command would not work because we have to match that file name on our desktop. So this is -I. I know sometimes just reading text, it's hard to tell if something's a lowercase l or an I. The first one's an I. Then we'd put a space and then a -L. That's the logon name. So we'll use the user account Ubuntu. Now, what's the address of the computer that we're going to connect to? Here, ignore that last part. For me, I want to use 172.31.64.96. You should use whatever private IPv4 address shows up for your Ubuntu server. Now, fingers crossed when I hit enter. This is good. I like this message. It can be kind of a nasty message. The authenticity of the host cannot be established. Gives me a key fingerprint. This is a good sign. This means it's trying to connect. This is part of the encryption process. We're exchanging keys to encrypt this data. I'm going to type yes. I like this fingerprint. Now, I'll have to scroll down just a tiny bit. Now I see this prompt. I see Ubuntu at IP. This is a very similar prompt to what I saw when I used the EC2 connect to connect to this Linux instance. I can type pwd and I'm in the /home Ubuntu directory. So any command that I type now here in my SSH connection will be run on the Linux server. So I am remotely connected and remotely administering it. If I ls, there's that test.txt file that I created when I first created this instance. It's there. So I could create another file like I'll touch second.txt. And if I list that again, now I've got 2 files there. So I've done whatever work I need to do. And I can sudo apt update. This will, all right, I got to type that correctly. Sudo apt, apt update. Looks like apartment, but it's apt. This is what it's called, apt. This will update the list of software that's available for my computer to install. And we are going to install a very important program on our computer. I'll sudo apt install the program called Roll Dice. So Roll Dice is all one word. It's going to go out to the internet. It's going to download this program and install it. And now we are ready to run the very powerful Roll Dice program. Now I can just type the program name, Roll Dice, and hit enter. Now every time you hit enter, it's going to roll a 6-sided die and give you whatever the roll was. So if you're playing Settlers of Catan and you lost your dice, you could be like, hold on a minute. Just let me connect to my Windows server EC2 instance, then I'll SSH into my Ubuntu server instance, and I'll run the Roll Dice program. I got everyone covered. I'm gonna make like tons of friends that way. People are gonna be so impressed with you. Now, how do you exit? You can exit by using Control C. Control C is like the get out of program command in the command line interface. Control C will get you out. And then if I'm done with this connection, I can type exit and it will tell me connection to the IP address of my Linux computer has closed. Now my prompt comes back and it looks like the Windows directory structure. So that's good. Perfect. People use SSH all the time. I'll just show that I don't need this Windows desktop connection anymore. I'll just go ahead and close it. It'll say, you're going to disconnect. Yeah, that's what I want to happen. I will use Instance Connect for my Ubuntu server. Click Connect. Just for funsies. This is going to connect using the public IP address, and that's fine. It's good. It's the only way this is going to work, using Instance Connect. Now if I ls to list the files, I can see I've got that second.txt file there. So all the changes I made from my Windows computer on this Linux server have persisted, which is good. That's what I want. So Secure Shell is powerful, it's secure. Administrators use it quite a bit in order to remotely manage computers. This is also one of the services, if you've got a computer on the internet that has SSH turned on, hackers all day long are going to try to break into it. They're going to try to log in with tons of different usernames and passwords. They're going to try to get in, because if they can get in, they can essentially do almost whatever they want on your server, which is why it's important to protect your credentials and make sure that your SSH configuration is secure. All right, hopefully this has been helpful, shining a little bit of light on what SSH is and how we can use it.